In this video, we're going to be replacing the AC condenser on this 2005 Honda Element. We're going to be working on the AC system. It's a charge system. Before you start this process, you're going to want to bring your vehicle to a shop and have the AC system fully drained and vacuumed out. With a 19mm socket, we're going to take off our wheel. Across the bottom side here, we have some push pins. You're probably going to have more push pins than we do. Our vehicle's missing a couple here or there, so wherever there are push pins, go ahead and remove them. So that's all our push pins up here. There should be a few more back here on this plastic piece. We have one more right here. Now this plastic splash shield here runs up inside the fender liner. So you're going to have two on each side. So if you follow this black plastic piece all the way up into your fender well, you'll see you have two push clips here. We're going to go ahead and remove those. All right, you're going to want to do the same thing on the other side. So back up top now, we have this top piece here covering our radiator, and it's attached to our front bumper. So we'll go ahead and remove these push pins first, and then we'll move out to the push pins over the headlights. Now I'm using a pick tool here for most of these. Some of them are going to be a little bit more difficult, so we'll move over to a panel tool. So now this top piece is going to lift right up. Now back up top, we have all of our push clips holding the top of our bumper down. So we'll go ahead and take those out. So sometimes these get old and brittle over time. This one just happened to fall apart. Now inside our fender liner, you'll see you have one Phillips or 8mm bolt. We're going to use the 8mm on the socket. We're going to take this one out here, and it's going to be the same on both driver and passenger side. All right, so now that we have our 8mm bolt out here, what we're going to do is pull our fender out and away. You can still see now that our bumper has a little tab that's stuck on that shoulder. We're going to pull our bumper out and off of that tab. Now the top of your bumper should be pretty free. Just go ahead and give it a little wiggle. Let you know if you're missing any clips. Everything here looks pretty good. Just gonna give it a good little tug out. Make sure everything's ready to come free. If you're doing this by yourself, I'm gonna grab the bumper down in the fender area and by the top here where you just removed your clips, and we're gonna pull out. So now we're up front. Our bumper's released from that little shoulder tab here. We're gonna grab our bumper from the fender and the top and just pull away from the vehicle. We'll do that on both driver and passenger side. We've already done the driver's side. I have a tool here holding the bumper on. This side's released. Now what we can do is grab our bumper, just take it right off the vehicle. Now once you've done that, we can start with the process of removing. We're going to start here on this AC line. It's going to be a 10mm bolt. I'll take that out now. All right, so we're just going to push this or pull this away, break it free. There is an O-ring inside there. So that's what's going to be holding it in place now. I don't always recommend this because this is aluminum and it's very soft. So we're going to use the back side of a small little pry here just to pop this off of the O-ring. Just be very careful. If you're replacing your AC condenser, you can be a little bit more rough on the AC condenser side, not on the line side. There you go. Now we're going to remove the 2 bolts holding our condenser in place, one on each side. They're going to be 10mm. Now what we can do is take this right up and off. So there's a little hook at the bottom, hold it in place, and we can just lift that straight up and off. We'll be reusing these. Let's put them somewhere safe. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Little hook on the bottom. And up and off. Now this one's coming off with the rubber. You're going to want to take the rubber off, either with or, like our driver's side, without the bracket. But you will want to reuse the rubber, so we're going to go ahead and put our rubber into the driver's side bracket now. Okay, so we're just going to push that straight through and set that aside. This bracket is actually a little bit stretched out. You can see the rubber is pretty loose in there, so just make sure you don't lose that. Now we have one more line at the bottom here. What we're going to try and do is see if we can lift our condenser. So in the bottom there's 2 more rubber O-rings or isolators in the vehicle. I'm going to lift our condenser up and out of those. There is a clip by your washer bottle where this line is actually clipped into. We're going to unclip that. Just enough room here where we can lift this, take out that 10mm bolt also. Okay, so now we're just going to push this line off. Let's see what we can do. Just by our hand, with our hands, and a little bit of wiggling the AC condenser here. Get a little bit more room. Let's see if we can pop that off. There you have it. On the bottom, you'll have some rubber isolators. These came out with the condenser. Typically, on the top, you're going to have the same type of isolator. These are going to go, our isolators came off with the condenser, and this vehicle is actually pretty rough. The metal on here is actually pretty rotted, so these came off with it, and we had to use a little panel tool to get it off, but you're going to want to reuse these if they're in good shape. Okay, so we're going to clean up as much as we can on these bushings. They're actually in decent shape, they're not cracked. And now we can take our old condenser and set it aside. So we're going to put our AC condenser in place now, but we have these rubber isolators to go on the bottom first. We're just going to push these right on, both of these little pegs. And now we can take our condenser and lower it down. Now before we get too far, I'm just going to set this down here to show you. We have this lower hose here. Now when we took it out with the condenser angled up like this so we could get to that bottom bolt. So what we're actually going to do is just plug this back in and then reinstall that bolt while we have a little bit easier access to it versus coming in through the bottom here with an extension and a swivel. So to do this correctly, you'll need to level your condenser so that it's going in straight. We're going to go ahead and plug in our condenser line here. What you want to do is make sure this O-ring is good and not cracked or worn all the way around. If you need to replace it, go ahead and replace it. Also, why don't you put a little dab of oil on this O-ring? That'll help you get a good seal and mount in. So we're just going to line that up and push in. You're going to get to a certain point where the O-ring is going to fight you back and forth a little bit. So what we're going to do is thread in one of our bolts. Okay, so the bottom one is the toughest one to do. If you follow the line up here, you'll see that there's a little black plastic clip holding this line in place. What we did for right now is just take it out of that clip, give us a little bit more freedom to move. Once you're down and your rubber isolators are in their pockets on the bottom, we can go ahead and put our top line on. We're going to do the same thing, inspect our O-ring. Make sure it's nice and clean. Put a dab of oil on it. And go ahead and seat that into position. Again, we're going to press that in nice and tight. Line up our bolt. And tighten it down. All right, now that our top and our bottom lines are in place, we know we're seated all the way down. We're going to go ahead and put this line back into that clip because now we should be done moving things around. And now from here, we'll install our top isolators and brackets. So now we're ready to install our isolators and upper brackets to our condenser. We're going to make sure that our rubber is mounted into the bracket. You also want to make sure that you have the right bracket. There's an L and an R. So we have the corresponding one for this side. We're going to slide it down onto that peg. We're going to swing the bracket around. We're going to line up the little tab and the notch on this part here. And we're going to thread in our bolt. We're going to take our right bracket, we're on the right side of the vehicle, we're going to slide it onto the pin and push down. We're going to line up the little tab on the bottom of our bracket with the cutout square on the vehicle. We're going to put in our replacement bolt because we had one break on us. Now we can take our bumper to the vehicle. And what we're going to do is line up the top section here on our top brace. Kind of get our clip holes lined up. Not going to get it perfect, but we're at least going to be able to sit it down and rest it on the top here. What we're going to do is put one plastic clip in the top here just to hold it in position for us. Now we have a pivot point to rotate and it'll hold it up top. Okay, so then we're going to leave this tab here for when we get it up in the air and we can look in and on that here. We also have a small problem where this screw is stuck in place. So I'm going to move over to the passenger side and finish that side up. So on the passenger side, you can see we have to line up the fender. This tab here is going to go underneath the fender. These pieces are going to go underneath here. Again, we have a little alignment tab here, which is going to be somewhere in this area. So we're going to pull it forward. I'm going to bend this up and under. We're going to push this into place. Now, what we can do is push in and up. Gently, we'll find that spot right there. Push straight back. You're going to want to make sure that the bumper tab is underneath here. So this will move out a little bit. Underneath here and on the tab where you're going to put your screw back in place. Once the two are aligned, go ahead and close that up. And we can put our fender liner back in place when we start to work underneath it. And we can put our screw back in. So we're going to start over on the passenger side. We're just going to start to reinstall our retaining clips here. Okay, you're going to get to a point like here where now you're going to need to reinstall your top trim piece. It's going to slide under the handle and down into place. And now we can continue along. So now in the fender well area, you have your liner, which from here we can tuck inside the bumper. And up top here, this is where we're going to put our screw back in. Now your liner is typically held in by a couple of clips, but we remove this piece here, the bottom splash shield, so this liner may or may not stay where we put it for right now, but when you are ready, that's right about where it's going to go. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So now we have our lower engine splash shield and our two side pieces that go into the fender liners, the fender wells. What we're going to do is put this up into position. We had a few more of these here, but they ended up breaking off. So we're just going to line up what we have left. Okay, so what we're doing is just lining up this area here first. Alright, so that one should hold most of it in place. Now what we're going to do is just work around the perimeter and reinstall our plastic clips. So up here, we have one. And on the opposite side, we'll have another. Okay, so we're just going to continue with our clips. Now, our vehicle didn't have all of the clips in place. So at this point, you're going to want to put all of your clips back in place, or if you're missing any, you're going to want to replace them. So our fender well pieces here, we're just going to sit them up into the fender well. And you want to make sure while you're doing this that they're on the other side of the hook here. And make sure you're on the opposite side of that hook. The other hook on the other side is actually bent way up. So this one is a little bit easier to do and a little bit easier to see. And now we'll get into the fender well, start putting in those clips. So inside the fender well, this is going to be the same for driver and passenger. We're going to take this splash shield area here, we're going to put it up. We're going to put our clips in place. So up in the passenger fender well, we'll go ahead and put our clips on our lower splash shield piece. Normally you would have more of these across the bottom. Ours broke off. This plastic gets pretty fragile. So to hold our splash shield up, we're still going to put some clips in there. Our car also didn't come with all of the clips, so we're going to put them back in where we see fit. All right, we have 2 clips left. So if you look at this, you kind of see what moves around the most. We want to lock those areas down with whatever we have left for clips. So we're going to go ahead and put ours in here. And the same thing over here. Now again, you're going to have many more clips. Go ahead and install them. Make sure you filled in all those spaces. So now we can install our wheel. All right, now we can do the other ones. Come in here with our 19 millimeter. Just snug these up. All right, now to torque these down, we're going to have to put the vehicle on the ground so the wheel doesn't spin. Now that our vehicle's on the ground, we're going to torque our lug nuts down to 80 foot-pounds. We're going to do it in a crisscross pattern. And then sometimes, if you really feel the need to, you can run around a second time just to make sure. And that's it.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.